Okay, I'm just sorting out the live stream. Okay, so today we are taking a look at the Mirage 2000C from Miltech Simulations. This came out a couple of days ago, and this is the first chance I've had to have a look at it. So we're going to have a look around the aircraft first with the drone camera. We're parked on the ground at RAF Honington, which is a custom scenery which is now 2024 compatible, available from the Contrail app. So if you know Contrail, they provide a shopping carton service for lots of different developers. But anyway, let's have a look at this around this aeroplane. It's really nicely modelled, isn't it? So it is not, first things first, it is not a study level Mirage. It is not a patch on the Mirage in DCS, for example. So don't get your hopes up if you are used to the Mirage in DCS. I'm just going to go and check the volume levels as well before we go too much further. So, okay, I'm looking fine on the volume. I'm going to turn the sim up. And then we'll turn it back down if we need to, depending on the volume of the engine noise in the aircraft. So we're going to go and jump inside it briefly, and go and I'm not sure if this will open without power. Yes, it will. So Shift X again. I'm going to use this as an opportunity to be able to have a look around inside the cockpit using the drone camera. So you can see it looks very much like a Mirage 2000C cockpit. It's just the systems modelling isn't really, you know, well, it's just not study level. So you can argue that it's accessible because of that. So we'll see it flying around, and the flight model isn't quite what it could be, but it's good enough to have some fun with. We'll obviously see some demonstrations of that on the way around. You can see when you get really close to the textures, they kind of give themselves away. You can see the pixelation. But otherwise it's pretty good. From a distance it looks photographic. Let's go and have a look around the undercarriage. So the undercarriage and lighting looks good. What about up inside the bays? Yeah, so there's a lot of detail. So the covers, I looked desperately to see if there's a way of removing the covers while you're on the ground. There doesn't appear to be. They remove themselves while you're getting the aeroplane ready for service, which is a bit annoying. There's a few decisions the developers have made with this aeroplane I don't quite agree with, but I'm not going to get too strung up about it. It's just, you know, bizarre things like particular controls not being configured as you think they should be, but as I said, it's fine for flying around. Okay, so we had a look around the airplane. So Shift and X brings us inside, and let's go and bring the lid down. Actually no, let's not. Let's lift the cover up. So we'll start the engine with the canopy open so you get to hear it properly. So battery on, external power on, alternator on. Obviously it's not operating yet because we don't have the engines running yet. So before we go any further, let's open tab, go in the aircraft, flight performance and mass and balance, and go and see how much fuel we've got. So we're going to fill the put some more in. So we should get external tanks. Let's go and have a look. And we don't, which is interesting. So again, one of the things I don't quite like very much about this. So let's go and pull those back. Can we just pull it back So yeah, look, it's going to do it. It should only go to external once you go past a certain level here. So let's see if we can just fill the main tanks and empty. And then we're going to get that bizarre issue with the backspace key doing that. Load in aircraft. So we have fuel without the external tanks, which is what we wanted. Okay, so then we're going to go and open this valve. We don't need boost pumps, and switch the ignition on, and then open the start button and press it. And you'll see the aeroplane will come to life. Wondering if we're going to get any heat pouring out the back or not. Oh yeah, we've got... Oh yeah, there it goes. So notice, yeah, it's taken the covers away and now taken the stairs away. Now the engine's running. Okay, so we can turn the external power off, we can turn the ignition off, we can close the lid on the start button. And we're essentially good to go. We can go and put the power on. I'm not going to play with the radar or the stores. So it's got weapons that animate, that you can actually fire them and they will guide. But we're not really going to get into that. So we're also going to have a play with some of these switches to see what happens. We've got a working early warning system as well. So you can see there's our fuel levels, parking brake lit up. So let's go and close the canopy. We've got a little flip out metal pad here which gives you a link to the documentation. Documentation's online, but it hasn't been completed yet. So most of this I've had to figure out by scrambling around the cockpit trying things out. Been quite frustrating. Yeah, I'm not going to open the weapons panel. I've had this aeroplane lock the simulator up 4 times so far. After clicking this button, should pull up the weapons here while we're stationary on the ground. I don't even want to try it once the engines are running because it may well lock the simulator up. So a lot of the things they're doing in this aeroplane aren't strictly possible in Flight Simulator, so who knows what code hacks they've done to make them work. Okay, so go off the parking brake, ease the throttles forwards. So we're going to put some lights on, so exterior lights over here. So we go and have a look outside now. You can see we've got the nose lights are on. Also got anti-collision and nav and formation lights. So just remember, we need to activate nose wheel steering. There's a little switch here that you have to flick to activate it. So, if I didn't know any better, and it's difficult to say because you don't know how difficult it has been to achieve what they have achieved with the bit we're not going to show you in terms of firing weapons, but this almost looks like an aeroplane that's been put together as an excuse to showcase firing weapons. And there's been a lot more effort put into making the weapons kind of work than there has in the aeroplane itself. But that said, it's perfectly flyable, so you'll get to see it. Taxiing out to the runway here. I thought set the weather. Let's go and have a look. Give ourselves a few clouds in the sky at least. So yeah, go for scattered clouds. So this scenery for RAF Honington is very, very good. The Honington, sorry. Lined up on the wrong way. So runway 27. So 270 and 90 degrees, although it's not actually 27. You'll see when we line up the compass, it will be a few degrees off. Yeah, 260 look. So we're actually 260 and 80 degrees. I was going to show you something and I can't remember what it was now. It can't be important. So you've got slats here and flaps that you can control, but given that it's a Delta, it doesn't really have flaps, but it does have leading edge slats. I'll just show you those before we take off. So if I go back inside the aeroplane and must be the other way. There we go. So let's get the view sorted out so when I come back to the external view we can rotate and show you how it goes. So we'll take off with military power. We need about 150 to rotate. Gear up. Has a tendency to roll, which seems a bit odd. So I'm just trimming that out with some aileron trim. And that's one of the strangest things of the lot. It doesn't roll on its axis, which you would expect a Mirage to do. It has quite a lot of adverse yaw from the ailerons. And up to 400 knots, let's put it back to 50% power. I'm just going to turn back round. We'll do a touch and go just to see how it handles. a little way to give ourselves at least some approach. So we can see how it handles on approach. So I have had a little play with it. The general rule is don't get below 150 knots, because whatever they've done with the flight model, it suddenly sinks like a brick at 150 knots. Let's go and you can see the slats are on automatic. Yeah. I'm just speeding up to stay above 150. As I said, it gets pretty dicey if you get. Doesn't like any sort of angle of attack look. It's a bit, well, we already have alpha. If we look up, look, the velocity vector has gone off the HUD, below the HUD. We're a little bit low on the pappies. Just going to do a touch and go. And then we'll do some performance testing, which is why I mentioned I don't think the flight model is maybe quite as it should be. Just doing it now, look. Suddenly started to sink. And I've got no ailerons. That was dangerous. That's because we put more fuel in than I've had in it before. So that does have quite an effect on it then. Okay, so gear up. It's trying to stall right. And it suddenly picks up once you get around the 220 knot mark. It suddenly becomes massively more manoeuvrable. Okay, so if you look outside, let's open it up. So this is my problem with it, watch. Okay, it's not so much how fast it can go, it's how quickly it gets there. It should be able to do Mach 1.1 at low level in a Mirage with clean aircraft, and look, it's just blown straight through it. So rather than come off the power, we're going to go straight up, and I'm going to show you the next problem with it. So the Mirage 2000 does have a positive thrust-to-weight ratio, so it should be able to accelerate straight up, but only with an empty aircraft. Remember, we're full of fuel. And we are still not losing speed. And we're now up to 35,000 feet. We're still above Mach 1. 40,000 feet. I'm letting it fall over, by the way. It just seems to be it's a bit too slippery and a bit too powerful. So we're at 50,000 feet, and we have still quite a lot of control authority. It is swashing around quite a lot, but you wouldn't think you'd have this much. is complaining about angle of attack because I'm forcing it around at Mach 0.8 at 50,000 feet, and it doesn't like doing that. Where was the airfield? I was directly below us there, we can see it. So we're doing Mach 1 straight down. Rather than tempt fate, I'm going to start pulling out now. We're at 18,000 feet. Okay, so there are there is some modelling of aerodynamics on it, so you'll see the compressibility around the slats, so you can see that there, look, the compression over the wing, and there's the slats coming down. It's a shame it hasn't got contrails on the wingtips, and you can see we're greying out there. It looks fabulous, and it's fairly easy to fly. It's just the main selling point for this is these weapon systems and stuff, and I think that's where most of the effort has gone, and I think the developers would own up to that as well. You know, they are trying to achieve in this aeroplane something that's not been done before in the simulator, which is, you know, a working weapon system. Okay, let's show the afterburner again. It's got that same problem that lots of other airplanes have. If you give it a sudden amount of aileron, it locks out. If you're careful, it doesn't do it. So it does simulate faster than sound travel. So when you're ahead of the shot cone, you don't hear it. And when you come behind it, you hear it. Which is quite cool. Just come back down, that you saw the shot cone form there as we came back down through the sound barrier. So let's have a quick look on the map, see where we are. Just to the southeast of the airfield then. So if we double back on ourselves so that's runway direction at 280 degrees. Carry on round. To 80. And we'll get along the runway axis. At the moment. Whereabouts are we? It's difficult to say, isn't it? Okay, so now for 350 degrees. probably going to be quite a dangerous thing to attempt with cloud, but we'll go for a loop over the runway, at least then we get some bearings to go on. Do quite a big loop, coming to it quite fast. Give ourselves 1,000 feet of room. So yeah, there's various bits and pieces that are missing off the HUD as well that the real aircraft has. But this is broadly similar to the real thing. We're going to have a nose around at the parked aircraft as well when we land. Okay, let's try this then. Tried to keep the rotation the same. We lost 500 feet in the loop. Not the best example of the loop ever. Okay, just pull it back round to 80 degrees. Yeah, as I said at the start, I'm only going to focus on flying it today. When it becomes a bit more stable, I'll have a play with the weapons. As I said, while playing with the weapons earlier, I managed to make the sim crash several times. Now, I don't know if it was the fault of this aircraft or just something else that was going on at the time. I did a full reboot before I started streaming. When we land, we'll exit left on the runway. Just trying to drop down into the glide slope. Unsuccessfully. It suddenly sank, look, like a stone when we got near the runway. We were still doing 160 knots, or 165, and it just sank all of a sudden. So it does have, you can map a keyboard key to put a parachute out the back, which again I haven't done that yet. I've just concentrated on flying the aeroplane. We're going to go and look at the tornadoes in a moment. Oh, we've missed our exit. We're going long. Means we get a little bit better look at this airfield, which is modelled really, really nicely. that have a safety on it? Looks like it. So I believe this has been modelled for a specific time frame when the tornadoes were based here. Well done, aren't they? If we were to zoom in, they all have different tail numbers as well. So there's quite a lot of detail that's gone into this, isn't there? We're going to park here. Because we're pointing the wrong way. Maybe we'll park next door, turn around. Okay, so I've not actually shut this thing down yet, so I have no idea what I'm supposed to do to shut it down. I presume the ignition is off. We can't manipulate that once it's up and running. That's the starter, obviously. Interesting. Is there a shut-off here on the throttle? Possibly not. It might not have even been modelled. Anyway. Yes, it's RAF Honington. It's a very, very nice version of it, isn't it? So you can get it from the Contrail app for Flight Simulator, which is, like, obviously, like I said, it's the shop front for lots of independent developers. So I'm going to leave the engine running. I can't see an easy way of shutting it down. Like I said, there's lots of bits and pieces on this that either aren't obvious, aren't documented, or aren't implemented. But you can still have fun flying the aeroplane around. So just to show you this then, while we're sat here on the ground, we'll go and put the power back on. So you can see systems coming back up. What we should be able to do while we're stationary on the ground, maybe not with the engine running, is press the valve button. Oh, it's working. Here we go. So we can move the cursor around using these switches. So you can say then what you want on the different pylons. So say we did want some Mark 82 bombs. So we can tick there and then tick there. And then say we wanted some S530s, we could tick there, and then come across to the other side, and tick there. And if we look outside, we can see those bombs are and missiles are appearing. But the trick being, you can actually fire them using the weapon systems. So the weapon systems over here, I've not dug into it too far yet. The big problem, if I just show you on the internet, docs.miltech simulations. You've got the Miltech fighters. And then this is obviously the Mirage 2000C. And if you come down here and look into weapon systems, this has been filled out to a certain extent. So you've got loading weapons, and it shows you what we've just done. And this has been filled out to a certain extent, so you've got continuously computed impact point, for example, with the Mark 82s. And apparently you can knock holes in the ground with them. And you've got missiles as well. But it's very, very undocumented so far, which is a bit of a shame. So yeah, this is, you can see it's very, very light on documentation. If you go and look on the head-up display documentation, it's got, well, this is a lot better than it was earlier on, so they're obviously writing it right now. So you've got the radar system, and yeah, that's all that's there. It's a bit odd. Autopilot. Again, this wasn't here earlier, there's now at least one page here. But they're obviously writing it up as they go. So I've not delved into this yet. I know some people have, and have figured out bits of it. But it's pretty good. So there it is, look. It's a very pretty aeroplane. So if I go back to the drone camera, go and have a look around it. Should we go and have a look at the pilot model they've put in it as well? Didn't look at him earlier, did we? Because we had he obviously only appears when the engine's running. It's pretty good. Okay, hopefully Just Flight will get the Tornado released soon, and then we can have some fun with it flying in and out of these various different air bases. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. That was a first look at the, well, they've called it the M2KC on the Miltech website, but it's the Mirage 2000C really, the Dassault Mirage. Right, I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully you enjoyed that. It's just a very brief first look and a fly around to look at the flight model. It's not too bad, but there's some odd bits, like even with full tanks, it was able to sustain a very fast climb, much more aggressively than you would think it would be able to. We essentially zoom climbed straight to 50,000 feet. I tried it earlier with max performance climb and went to 100,000 feet, which seemed a little bit extreme. Okay, take care. See you again soon.